All right, John. So, Global Hope Global Forum over. This was a totally different experience than the previous 7. Didn't have it last year.
And we had it virtual. It's all virtual.
It was virtual, all virtual last year, but this year it was a hybrid. So, your thoughts?
Well, I think from the feedback I've gotten, I think it was spectacular for the audience, and which is what it's all about, to inspire people. It was a different model. We with COVID and the Delta variant coming out, we didn't want to take any chances on anybody's health. Yours, Ambassador Andrew Young's the last living senior lieutenant to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., 89 years young. No, doesn't want to take any chances with. I'd be devastated if I did something to impair his health, you know. And he had billionaires next to millionaires, next to thousandaires, next to somebody trying to buy some air. I mean, it was every white, black, red, blue, CEOs of the biggest companies in the world. 90% of these speakers decided to come in personally. We gave them a choice between virtual or in person, and to my utter amazement, they said they wanted to show up. And the few who didn't show up, it was a scheduling conflict. Even Reggie Jackson was trying until late last night trying to get here. So I think that given that we went from all virtual in few months in 2020 to we were going to do a meeting mostly in person, then Delta variant hit, we moved back to mostly virtual. We thought it would be 20% in person and 80% virtual. And it actually flipped, at least on the speaker side, to 80 to 90% in person. The rest was virtual. We then had to make a decision about the audience, about the delegates. We've had 5,000 plus delegates before. We decided to crunch that down, shrink that down to 400. Actually, it was 300, and we actually ended up accepting 800 RSVPs because everybody was somebody or at least they thought we couldn't say no to them. We don't argue over somebody else's importance. You want to be here, we want you here. And it worked out beautifully. It wasn't too crowded, enough for warmth. We talked about this. But we had these labels. I think it was green for you can hug me or shake my hand. It was yellow for a fist kick or elbow or.
And red was stay the hell back.
Red was I'm good.
Right.
Stay.
Just wave.
Just
wave.
Over there and wave. And it just really, people respected everybody's distance. It was really quite beautiful. 3 days of magic in a bottle.
I had someone post. We've been live for all 3 days. An
honor to have you here, by the way.
Always glad to be here.
Yeah.
Brother posted. He said, what does this do? He said, what's the value? What comes out of this? What answer that question? What is the value?
The value is the young brother who walked up to me on my way to this interview, who said, "This just changed my life." He said, "I didn't think that anybody thought like me. I thought I was out here in the wilderness all by myself, trying to be an entrepreneur, trying to be a black man in technology, trying to own a business, trying to create jobs in my community, thinking that social justice could be achieved economically. But I'm thinking I'm by myself." He came from Birmingham, Alabama, at the recommendation of somebody else. He created a $2 million startup in tech. Even though he raised $2 million as a young black man, he clearly, as I looked in his eyes, had what it took to succeed. He felt like he was all alone. He said today, being here the last 3 days, completely transformed his confidence, his belief in himself, his self-esteem. We're not islands. We are interconnected. We're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. Energy matters. We just talked about energy off camera. Giving people permission to dream. You and I were growing up. Capitalism was a dirty word. You go to church, making money was a dirty word. What we are learning is money's not evil. It's the love of money that's evil. What we're learning is that capitalism is not bad. It's bad capitalism, like slavery, which was bad capitalism. That's evil. But it's good to see 3 days of consistency. Black, white, up, rich, poor. You don't know what political party they're from. Everybody's saying the same thing, and they're saying what they're doing. So this is not some kumbaya party. $100 million committed by Twitter. That's gone to black banks. Well, that's material. The profits from that created 5 Hope Inside locations of Operation Hope inside of black banks. That's material. SunTrust CEO showing up, Truist CEO, formerly SunTrust, Bill Rogers today, announcing we're going to be in 1,000 Truist branches for Hope Inside. That's unbelievable. They only have 2,000 branches. Not only, they have 2,000 branches, making us 50% of all branches. When you create these events, you create a timeline, you create a deadline, you create a sense of expectation that, okay, I need to do something by that date,
right? Because
I'm going to be held publicly accountable. We call this an annual meeting for the people. Mm-hmm. And because Operation Hope is owned by the people, because we're a nonprofit, the public has a right to know what we're doing with their money that is invested in Operation Hope. They also have a right to know what's going on with these corporations and the government. This is a public accounting. And there was one commitment made today by Airbnb's co-founder to help to bring in, I think it's 20,000 Afghan refugees, to put them in Airbnb homes. Operation Hope is going to help him with that. There was a commitment made, T.D. Jakes reported out on what he's doing in Atlanta he's developer here in Atlanta, Bishop T.D. Jakes, right next to Tyler Perry's studio. Unbelievable what he's going to be doing on those acreage right next to the military facility that Tyler Perry took over. I'm just thinking about all of the people who came here. Tony Ressler, Atlanta Hawks, talking about what they're doing to give blacks into the pipeline through the HBCUs. So this is not a talk fest. This is not a brag fest. This is a do fest. And it's about holding folks publicly accountable, but also celebrating those who succeed.
See, I think the biggest...
And we raised $50,000 of venture capital for a new black inventor on a pitch event 2 nights ago, right off the floor. Actually, we raised $150,000 for her. I started it with $50,000, 100,000 joined her.
See, the thing for me when we talk about accountability, we've dealt with all of these big announcements in the post-death of George Floyd.
Yep.
And I've had these meetings with people who have made these announcements and commitments to black-owned media. And what I've said in my conversations to them is, I'm not praising you for press releases. When you actually do it, is when I'll praise you. And I was talking to the CMO of General Motors and their whole advertising team, Carrot, Dentsu, and I said, I'm gonna just be clear. I said, because I think one of the things that we have done as African Americans, we have praised folks for small things that made us feel good. Oh, this one brother, one sister got appointed. Okay, but which is great, it's appreciated. But how are you changing it for a multitude of people?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that for a lot of people they hate the accountability part.
Yep.
But it's necessary because otherwise it's just announcement after announcement, but it's not tangible and real for the people who are most impacted.
Walmart, to that point, Walmart CEO announced their average employee pay now is $18 an hour and going up. B of A announced that they went from I don't know where it was, but it's $20 an hour for every employee, including the part-time tellers. Now, Roland, they're going $1 a day per year for 5 years. Get the average employee paid to $25 an hour. That's material.
Right.
I mean, everybody in that ballroom didn't have a job, or who has a cousin boo-boo should have been running out the door trying to get a job at Bank of America. Right. At $25 an hour, that's real money. I mean, what I love about this is everything's trackable. Like, you don't need to take my word for it. Go look for yourself and see what they're doing.
Right.
Also, I've got 4 million clients. So I'm not in the conference business. Like, I'm not in the convention business or the forum business. I'm in the transformation of life business and the scaled impact business and maximizing human potential. All this is a annual accounting of what we've been doing all year round. So it makes us a little different than most organizations. You have a motivational speaking group, and that's what they do. You have an operating nonprofit, and that's what they do. We are a bit of a blend. We operate on the ground, 180 locations in 30 states. As you know, raised credit scores 54 points in 6 months, 120 points in 24 months. Nothing changes your life more than God or love than moving your credit score 120 points. Half of black folks have a credit score below 640, which means half of us are locked out of the free enterprise system. You can be the nicest person on the planet, go to church every Sunday, be gracious and kind. Still can't get a loan to start a small business because that requires a 700 credit score because it's risky credit. Can't get a good mortgage with a good interest rate because that's a 680 credit score. Can't get a decent car loan. That's a 650 credit score. But we don't know what we don't know. It's what we don't know that we don't know that's killing us, but we think we know. We had a debate on it was on Twitter, then on your show, about whether there's any benefit to home ownership. What are you talking about? I mean, the bank owns a loan. No, you own the home. You own the home until you default. If you default, then the bank owns the home. But by the way, if you borrow the money from me, I'd own your home. So that's not a miracle. But if you own the home and you understand financial literacy, which is what we're teaching in these Hope Inside locations, you own the appreciation, you own the depreciation, and you get a write-off of every mortgage payment for 20 of the 30 years because most mortgages are interest payments, which means that's the best way to get wealthy in America is owning a home, but only 41% of us are owning a home. So this work on the ground, we created $3.5 billion of homeowners and small business owners at Operation Hope before we even showed up at a forum. So I could get a little defensive or cocky about, it's not my nature, it's not my style, but about a statement of, gee, is this important? I'd rather reframe it and say, when you got the power, you don't need to use it. I've got nothing to prove. We proved all that we do every day of our work. This is about you. This is about you. This is about all of you and giving you access to what I already have.
But see, here's why why I get the question, why I have no problem even answering the question.
Oh, I love it.
Because
I love constructive
criticism. Actually, it's not even, to me, it's not even constructive criticism. What it simply is, to your point earlier, when you don't know, you don't know. Because part of the problem is that I dare say 90-95% of the conferences and the gatherings are talk fest.
Well,
and as somebody who's moderated
right.
a lot of these conversations,
right.
I'll go on these panels and I will go, okay, we were here last year.
Where's the meat?
What the hell changed?
Right.
Why are we having the same conversation that this year that we had last year?
Right.
And in fact, I do sessions now where I say at the outset, okay, we're going to spend, if it's an hour, we about to spend 10 minutes on the problem.
Right.
And the other 50 minutes on the solution.
That's right.
As opposed to normally what happens is 50 minutes on the problem.
Admiring the problem.
And it's this, it's that, we can't do this, we can't do that. Yeah. And then it's 10 minutes left, and now you're trying to hurry up to get all 5 panelists laying out what the solutions are. Because for me, that doesn't help anybody. To me, you should walk away from a conference and be able to implement something short-term immediately.
Do you know why we do that, Roland? There's a reason why. We mean well. Our people we've been doing so much with so little for so long, we can almost do anything with nothing. We are an incredible people. When the rules are published and the playing field is level, we kill it. Professional sports, the arts. I mean, we even killing it in tennis, golf, and F1 racing, and NASCAR, places we've never even showed up. This capitalism and free enterprise thing, which is the whole game, is what we don't know that we don't know.
Right.
And versus acknowledging and admitting, I'm clueless here, I need some help, because God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we listen twice as much as we talk, we fake it. And or worse, we specialize in the thing that we can actually control, which is the problem. The problem narrative is easy. It's easy to be a critic, right? So and here's worse. There's three mentalities, to put this in my book, Up From Nothing. A surviving mentality, a thriving mentality, and a winning mentality. Now, anybody looks at you, sees a winner. You knew you were a winner, knew they were a winner before they ever won anything. A winner knew they were a winner before they ever won anything. And a winner is a builder. You've built a company. You've built an infrastructure. You've built a system. You built a portfolio. You're building your life. You built a brand up from nothing. And you're infecting everybody. I walked in your studio, and everybody's got the same building ethos, the same sense of humor, the same energy, the same sense of love as you do. You're building a character and a culture. The opposite is also true. You hang around 9 broke people, you'll be the 10th. So builders, winners are builders. Then the thriving, that's the middle class. Those are getting people. Get me a promotion. Get me access to a country club. Get me a vacation. Get me right to vote. That's the majority of America. The third group is the problem. Mm-hmm. The third group are the folks with a surviving mentality in a thriving world.
We talk about who are spectators.
Who are spectators, who are experts at what they are against, not an expert at what they're for. And so now you're admiring the problem because that's what you understand. Mm-hmm. And when you go into a barbershop in a 700 credit score neighborhood, black or white, they're talking about their ideas and they're talking about how they're going to move on those things. You go to a barbershop in a 500 credit score, equal brilliance, but bad culture, they're talking about other people. You go to a winner's barbershop, here's what I'm doing. You go to the barbershop of where people feel defeated, they talk about other people, either celebrities or people they admire, but also often, I don't like Joe. I don't like Roland Martin. Well, let me tell you something. I don't understand people. How could you not like anything here you see? You should just be like, this is amazing. It's cool. You may not even like how he does it or how I do it, but it's like, you know what? They're succeeding. They're killing it. All you should be is, that's fantastic. But if I don't like me, I'm not going to like you. If I don't feel good about me, it's hard for me to feel good about you. If I don't respect me, don't expect me to respect you. If I don't love me, I don't have a clue how to love you. And here's the big one. If I don't have a purpose in my life, I'm going to make your life a living hell.
And see, I think what drives.
So this becomes a marketplace of despair, fear, defeatism, and versus us challenging that and adding solutions, which feels weird to our community.
Right.
We rather just, when we run out of town, get in front of the crowd, make like a parade, just add fuel to that fire. Yeah, you upset the white man. Yeah, this is horrible. Yeah, I mean, racism is like rain. It's either falling someplace or it's gathering. Get on an umbrella and start walking through it because it's not going to change, so you must. But that's a harder thing to say.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation, you and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together, so let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture, weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
The thing what I sort of walk people through who don't understand the level of conversation. One, what drives them crazy is when I say, I don't give a shit what you think.
Right.
It absolutely drives them crazy.
Right.
Because they're like, well, you responded, which means you do. I'm like, no, actually, I'm telling you I don't, because I actually don't.
Right.
Because I'm not about to.
No, you care about the people, but you're not obsessed with how they feel about you.
Right. So I'm like, because my whole deal is okay. Again, there's so many people who get caught up in it, but also the thing that drives me crazy, because you talk about the need for Black America to have a reboot, software upgrade. I said we'd be reprogrammed.
Right.
Like I had to even tell my followers. I said when I post something on my page about X company, what they spend, and how we get 0.5% of it.
Right.
I said, I'll see 10, 11 comments. I said, but I'll post about something that's absolutely bullshit.
Right.
I said, and it's 300, 400, 500.
That's right, 2,000 comments.
And so,
right.
so I would tell them, I would say, so y'all, this over here can get us as Black people $1 billion. This over here is a TV show.
That's right.
I said, now.
But we specialize in drama.
Right. And I just said.
Drama don't pay a mortgage, don't pay a car note, don't send your kid to college, but we love
And
drama.
I said, and I need y'all to understand, when I post over here about X company, if you took the 400 to 500 or 1,000 comments that are over here and apply to over here, I said, oh, they're going to be real jumpy. I said, what you don't understand is when you only see 8 to 10 comments, they go, oh, we fine.
That's right.
We good. I said, but that could be $1 billion. I said, this gets us nothing. And I'm fine with just, we all watch stuff that just takes our mind off of stuff. I said, but we can't, everything we do can't take our mind off of stuff. I said, because maybe our minds need to be on some stuff. It just has to be then discussed and dealt with in a different way.
That's what Bishop T.D. Jakes said at our forum this week, and that's what Ambassador Andrew Young has said. The next movement has to be from the neck up, not the hands down, the neck up. We got to think our way out of this problem. You know, you make money during the day, you build wealth in your sleep. You make money during the day, you build wealth in your sleep. Wealth is a mindset. It's about compounding. You can't build wealth without compounding. You can't compound unless you understand how capitalism and free enterprise works. People want to say, I want to get this money. I want to get paid. I want to get this dollar. I want to get this. I want to get. You know, that means nothing. You can go broke tomorrow. But in fact, 70% of those who win the lottery bankrupt in 5 years. 70% of those who are in the NBA and the NFL bankrupt in 5 years after retirement. Money has velocity. It'll come in your hands and through your hands. And a fool and his money is soon departed. The question is, do you have a wealth mindset? My mother worked an hourly job. She's here. Worked an hourly job, but bought and sold 7 homes. Is financially independent. Has a credit score of 854, which means she's not black, she's green. My mother had a wealth mindset, even though she had an hourly wage. So we've got to get our minds right. And in some ways, this is Malcolm X all over again. He said, we've been bamboozled, we've been tricked, we've been fooled. It's Andrew Young who said, we integrated the lunch counter, him and Dr. King, but we didn't integrate the money. And he said to live in a system of free enterprise, Roland, and not to understand the rules of free enterprise, which is mindset, must be the very definition of slavery. I'll slow that down. Say it again for those in the back of the room. To live in a system of free enterprise. This is modern day slavery now. And not to understand the rules of free enterprise must be the very definition of slavery. So if you look about our neighborhoods, think about where George Floyd was murdered. 500 credit score neighborhood. Here's what you see. Check casher, next to a payday loan lender, next to a rent-to-own store, next to a liquor store, next to a pawn shop. I mean, this narrative is in every community across this country. Don't we see some pattern here? So mindset is everything. And in some ways, the bad people who mean us harm have won.
Yeah. That's
in this regard.
And that's why when I tell folk, and Pastor John P. Kidd, gospel singer, sent me, he said, man, do these people know you crazy gangster? He said, I love seeing some of your responses. He said, you will tell some folk go to hell real quick. And I said, he had me cracking up. And I said, I don't want to have to go off on people. I said, but I do think it's important to let some folk know you do know what you say means it has no effect on me.
Well,
because
you're making smart sexy is what you're doing. You don't like. You discriminate against stupid and dumb people in ignorance. That's what you.
Yeah, I can't. I can't. I mean,
I understand. I'm working on it.
I can't. Myself. I mean, I can't. And I'm gonna try to talk to somebody. I'm gonna try, but
get you in therapy.
But it's like, but if you can't keep sitting here, I'm like, and also I can't invest that level of time and energy because I know there's somebody out there who wants the same time and energy. Who's gonna take advantage of it?
Right.
And that's the thing. Cause I really don't get people who there are people who come on my page on my Black Star Network app, my YouTube channel, to whine and complain. Mm-hmm. And I said,
because we don't have a therapist.
I said, we alive 2 hours a day.
Right.
You literally take 2 hours of your day to come on the page
But it's
to complain.
It's public therapy. We never got a psychologist. We never got a shrink. We never had an apology after slavery. We never had a healing. There's 3 ways to live: suicide, coping, and healing. Healing's just hard. Love is work. You lived your whole life committed to truth, committed to healing, committed to hard work. I mean, you could have mailed this in. You could have sent a whole crew down here and let somebody else do it. You're sitting there trying not to yawn because you've been working all day for the last 3 days.
They've been going.
Because love is work, non-love is laziness, and anti-love is evil.
And the work ain't just been here; it's the other projects
Yeah.
and the other deal, which is why I also I tell these people, because I know you deal with it as well. They come up to you and I want to get what you got. But do you want to do?
Then work like I work.
Do you want to do?
Right.
And see, then we had that conversation with them.
They're like, oh, I got it.
Right. Like I tell people, people like, oh my God, Pastor Jakes. I tell people all the time. I said, are you celebrating Bishop T.D. Jakes, Potter's House Bishop T.D. Jakes? Or do you want to talk about Bishop T.D. Jakes when he was digging ditches in West Virginia?
And he's still working hard, by the way, every day.
But the thing though is, I said you cannot celebrate
Right.
Potter's House, Dallas, Texas Bishop T.D.
Right.
Jakes if you do not acknowledge and deal with the digging ditches when his wife, when they were on welfare. I said because I said that's the same person.
That's right.
And that's the thing, man. That for me, what people, if they come to Hope Global Forum, if they watch the videos, they need to also hear that and understand it, and not just go, "Ooh, I'm seeing success." No. I need to understand how that happened.
That's right. Only in the dictionary does the word success come before the word work, because it's alphabetical. Now it goes back to what I said about healing, coping, and suicide. Love is work. Non-love is laziness. Anti-love is evil. Evil exists. It's very rare. Roland, most people are just lazy. Intellectually lazy, spiritually lazy, emotionally lazy, financially lazy. They don't want to do the work. That's not me casting aspersions. That's not me calling somebody a name. It's like me saying that there's a painting over there. Either you do the work or you don't. Either you're in the fight or you aren't. Either you're in it to win it or you're not. But you can't say, I want to be successful, and then you show up, then your motto in life is in late, long lunch, and leave early. That doesn't work. Late, long lunch, leave early doesn't work if you want to be successful.
We literally had a discussion, a fierce discussion backstage last night about the drama happening in Philadelphia with Ben Simmons. And so here's an individual who possesses the capacity to be great. The capacity to be great.
Yes.
But hasn't dealt with why you pass up a two foot layup, why you won't take a 3-point shot. And now he's sensitive, he's feeling, because the 76ers have criticized him, his coaches criticized him. But it's like, but do you want to be great? Because if you want to be great, you got to sit there, there's some work you got to put in. And you can't ride this natural ability. No, you got to actually put in the work. And I think
he should go look at the Michael Jordan's documentary,
or
how much work Michael Jordan put into the game and how much mental work. That was most mental work
right.
as it was physical.
But that was my whole point. My whole point there was, and that's where the mental piece comes in.
Yeah.
And so what I argue is that if we're having this conversation about entrepreneurship, what we're building, you have to confront, do you have the mental fortitude to say no, to say yes, to not beat yourself up, not think you're better than you really are. It's all here.
That's
and
right.
And that's where I go back to that reprogramming, as you say, that reboot, that software upgrade. Because if that doesn't happen, I love the sister from Edelman when she said, not we're going to be majority minority. She says we'll be the emerging. I love the emerging majority.
Majority, right.
That's the piece right there. That if we do not deal with that mindset, that brain power, that piece right there, we're going to be having the same why we haven't done this
Yes.
discussion in 2043, in 2063, in 2163. That has to happen.
This is why your first question was so important about what does all this matter, and my response about the young man who I eyeballed, and really the model for Operation Hope for 29 years now, which is there's a difference between being broke and being poor. Being broke is economic. We'll all be there at some point if you take a risk. But being poor is a disabling frame of mind, a depressed condition of your spirit. And you must vow never, ever, ever to be poor again. Whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. Success is going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. You and I take no for vitamins. I mean, if you're not resilient, you're going to get run over. You'll never make it because you've got to literally outrun failure. Like, none of this is easy, particularly if you're black, it's not easy.
So you talk, and the thing about, we talk about the conference, well, the young brother came up to you. It was a sister who came up to me here.
Yeah.
And she said, I saw you 3 or 4 years ago.
Yep.
She said, I need you to understand that you said something to me that completely changed my life. And I was like, really? Don't recall.
Right. I've seen that happen with a number of people who come up to you, by the way.
And she said, I came up to you and she said, and I told you, I felt I wasn't worthy what I was doing. And you told me, who the hell told you you were not worthy?
That's right.
And she said, you spoke things into me. She says, she said, every day I'm hearing your voice.
That's right.
And she was walking through this
That's
whole
right.
deal.
That's
Then
right.
she started telling me how all of these different business she started, this nonprofit she started, all the things that she's done. And that's also, to me, the value, because it's not always just going to an event and hearing the people on stage. It's also connecting with the other people who are there as well, who they might say something to you.
It's a new tribe. It's a new tribe. Look, I think it's very controversial, I guess, but I don't think so. I think that 50% of America and 70% of Black America is clinically undiagnosed depressed.
I agree.
And on the black piece, even before 2020, before George Floyd, before all this, just with our history in this country, slavery, all that mental, psychological oppression. You and I aren't physically tired right now. We're mentally and emotionally exhausted because we've been pouring out.
Right.
We've given gas but not fuel. So imagine getting beat up for 400 years and never being reaffirmed. You're not being told you're great. You're not being told that black is right. You're not being told that you can do anything. You're being told just the opposite. 5 pillars of success. Again, from my book, Up From Nothing. As much education you can shove down your throat. This is how you absolutely guarantee you do this. I guarantee you'll be successful. Guarantee you. You do 3 of what I'm about to say, you'll still succeed. You do 4 or 5, you'll kill it. So if you're a parent, watch this. If you're a student, do this. As much education you shove down your throat. Understanding how financial literacy works, the math of the matter. How does the economy work? Economics, which is what we're teaching here at Operation Hope. 3, family structure and resiliency. 4, self-esteem and confidence. 5, role models and environment. What are you creating here? Enroll in Unfiltered, culture and environment. What did your parents give you? Confidence and self-esteem. Those 2 things are different.
Which is interesting.
Yep.
Because that was the 2 of the things my parents didn't have.
That's right. Nor did my mother.
So I saw it.
Nor my mother.
There were opportunities that came their way.
Yep.
That they passed.
Yep.
Believe, not me. But again, what I saw was, I'm not going to do that. Because, to your point, emphasize education.
Yep.
You
hit all 5, Roland?
Right.
You hit all 5.
So even though
education,
so even
you
though
understand the math,
right. So even
family
though
structure, resiliency,
they did not
they gave it to you.
grab that, I saw it and I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. In fact, my dad introduced me. I spoke at a men's group at the church in Houston, and he introduced me and he said, when my son says he's gonna do something, he does it, and then he says, I don't know where he got that from. I'm like, no, I got it from y'all.
Right.
So everything so people think that if something our parents didn't do, that's what we're gonna do as well. No. Mm-hmm. We can see it and say, no, I'm gonna do the opposite of that.
My mother wasn't told that she was loved by her mother. She was told just the opposite, you ain't nothing. She just spent every day of her life telling me that she loves me. Even though she didn't love herself because she wasn't told she was loved by her mother, she knew how important it was to reverse that cycle and pour that love into me. One of my number one traits in this world is my self-esteem. And confidence is competence. So if you're competent at being a cameraman, you'll be confident about that. That doesn't mean you have high self-esteem. If you're confident about finance, you'll be competent about that, competent about that. That doesn't mean you have high self-esteem. Esteem is how you feel about yourself.
Right.
The thing that America took from us is how we feel about ourselves.
Which is why we say stuff like, well, that is a black business. Well, you know how we are.
That's right.
All those different phrases.
That's right.
The conversation.
It's also where crab in the barrel came from.
Yeah, the conversation that you had to that point, the conversation, just share briefly the conversation that you did with Reggie Jackson, who, again, America, Reggie Jackson, so arrogant, so cocky,
right.
and all of that,
Yeah.
which I find to be very hilarious because Joe DiMaggio, until he died, required, whenever he was introduced, he required them to say, Joe DiMaggio, the greatest living Yankee.
So let's break that down.
With a bunch of other greats living.
So when a white man walks into a room who's accomplished and who has confidence, we go, oh my God, they just believe in themselves. That's just, look at that belief, that confidence, that self-esteem, oh, look at that, it's great. When a black man walks into a room who's confident, look, he's cocky, he's arrogant, it's because we've never seen it before. It's because we don't recognize, it's like a Martian walking into a room. And so we attribute it to the thing.
Oh, that was the first thing, because before you and I met, I edited a story, and man, that damn John Hope Bryant, man, that's the one, man, his cocky ass. So when someone says that, then when you read the story, then it's like, oh, well, he sounds, again, the perception that somebody places on you, as opposed to, no, that's a confident brother who know where he's going.
We just have never seen it before. We have these,
it scares us.
We have these examples of low self-esteem that's all around us, and then we have these, and then we jump and we didn't have the examples of we created celebrity in America to replace royalty in Europe. Celebrity is an American creation. So again, it replaced blue blood royalty in Europe. That celebrity is an outsized sort of magical version of esteem, if you want to call it that. I won't call it self-esteem, but it's esteem. And it's magnifying so-called greatness, sort of sunglasses on at night sort of a thing. So either we're overcorrecting, trying to be something we're not, or we think we're not good enough. But here's my thing. I'm not better than you. I'm not worse than you. I am who I am.
Right.
I'm reasonably comfortable in my own skin. It's okay if you don't like me. I like me. What did Quincy Jones say? It's not 1 ounce of my self-esteem. It's dependent upon your acceptance of me.
Right.
That's what you said earlier. I don't need your acceptance. Imagine how freeing that is. Imagine how liberating that is when you're not reliant upon somebody else to say you're okay. So and then we call that arrogant or cocky because we don't need to have our belief affirmed by the person we're talking to. No, we can disagree without being disagreeable. Look, you have a view, you believe in your view, God bless you. I hope that's working for you. I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you about it.
Right.
To argue with a fool proves there are two. Not 1 ounce of my value depends on whatever's coming out of your mouth. God bless you. I'm going over here.
Right.
By the way, I encourage you not to stand in my way, because if I'm going over there, around it, through it, I may go to it through you.
Right.
I mean you no harm. But when I run you over, I told you I was coming. I encourage you to get out of the way. That's not cockiness. That's absolute dead-on belief. That's a dreamer with a shovel in their hands, and you need one on every block.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we
We have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? As you were talking, I thought about in terms of the difference between when we put something on and
put something in,
and we go, yeah, that looked good.
Yeah.
So when you walk out that door, you walk out because you like, I know I'm looking good. You walk out, but then you take the person, whether it's a woman who thinks that her dress or skirt is too short, or the brother who says my jacket is too tight. What's happening is she's constantly pulling down, constantly pulling down.
Right.
Or the brother's constantly, changing because you're not confident in how you look.
By the way, why did you wear that skirt that didn't come over your hip if you didn't think men were going to be looking at it? And if you're going to wear that, wear it.
Right, but
whatever you're going to do.
Right, but here's here's what happens. Again, what that says is you put it on
for others.
You had doubts when you put it on.
Right. And you need to be affirmed.
You walked out, and so what happens? Is this too short?
Right.
Or, hey, bro, is this jacket too tight? And I go, don't walk out the house. If that doubt comes into your mind, go change clothes.
That's right.
And so I applied that. So as you were talking about confidence and esteem, that's the thing that people don't get. Yeah. We walked out of the house going,
believe it.
My stuff fit, it looks good, I don't care.
I'm enough all by myself.
I'm about to rock this. And they looking like, how the hell you think you sitting here and you like I joked with you earlier when I said, and it's true, I can't wear tennis shoes with suits.
Right.
My brain does. Russell Simmons has done that. I was with Glenn Turman. I cannot. You like, I'm comfortable, I'm good. And here's the deal. If you're working it and rocking it, great. If I choose to wear some dress shoes, great. We still got to walk to the same place.
And what's this called? What is this properly called that you're wearing right now? What's the name of it?
Some called dashiki.
Okay, so I just
call it African attire.
So I can't wear African attire every day. I've got some beautiful African daishikis. I've got some beautiful stuff from India. I wear them on special occasions. You wear it every day. I don't use the word can't and impossible, but I can't get myself to wear it every day. It's not my style. But I can wear, it is my style, to wear tennis shoes with suits. Because I believe that, I'm comfortable with that, it comes off well.
There you go.
And because you're comfortable with this, it comes off
well.
And so whatever suit you put on, and hopefully it's a suit of your self-love every day, that's the suit you got to wear with absolute comfort, not with arrogance, because all really arrogance is actually insecurity.
Right.
When you're screaming and hollering at people, that's insecurity. When you're angry, with that's really underneath that is you're really saying I'm hurt. Anger is nothing more than a cover for your emotions. You're not able to deal with the fact that I was hurt, I was offended, you didn't esteem me. So let's deal with what's underneath it, because then you're really comfortable in your own skin. The reason that people trust you so much is because you're authentic, Roland. You people know it's not a game. They may like you, they may not like you. It's irrelevant. I tell people, I'd rather you respect me and learn to like me than like me and never respect me. It doesn't mean I don't want to be liked. I'd love to be liked, but it doesn't make or take from my day, because I understand I'm doing something that nobody really understands. When I started this 25 years ago, and Roland, you know this, I remember walking up to the White House and saying, I'm John Hope Bryant.
No.
I said, I know who you are.
You keep saying it's the White House. No, it was the airport. It was LAX.
All right.
We were at baggage claim, and you said, hey, I'm John Hope Bryant. I was like, dude, I know who you are. I was like, I said, I know. And you like, huh? I was like, yeah.
But the reason I said that was that I wasn't questioning myself. No one gave me share of mine back then. it doesn't surprise me now that you were paying attention to that because you're a smart guy and you're looking around the corner for the future. But please read my book, Up From Nothing, if you're interested in this story and you want to know how to come up from nothing. That story's not about my successes. It's about my failures. It's about 30 years of people looking at me and doing this. Oh, financial literacy. Oh, capitalism. Oh, free enterprise. I'm so tired of this guy. Oh, is he coming into this again? Oh, do I have to hear this speech again? Oh, I'm so tired. Now nobody's saying it. Now people, can I get that? How you get that contract? Hey, John, can you introduce me to this person? Hey, John, can you come meet with me? Whoa, slow down, Turbo.
Right.
You slow down. You dissed me 30 years ago.
Right.
Now you're my friend.
Oh,
I don't make you pay a penalty for it. But it's not like it's not like I've forgotten, right? So the world caught up to me. I haven't changed.
Well, see that's what the reason I'm cracking up with that. It's like COVID hits, and all of a sudden my phone is blowing up. Hey man, I need a home studio. What camera to buy? What lights to get? All this sort of stuff, and it's like, oh, like I've been trying to tell y'all this for the longest.
Right.
And then people like, man, you on top of this thing long before anybody else. And it was like, yes. And to your point, when someone told me, I met one of your middle school teachers who said you ain't changed, and I went, thank you.
I'm consistent.
And they thought I was being, you just been. I said, no. I said, somebody said, no, we should all change. I said, no, see,
we should grow.
I said, what you don't understand is the focus that I had to be the best communications high school student at my high school.
Yes.
Applied to Texas A&M.
Yes.
Applied when I got out.
Yes.
I said, that's what you don't understand.
That's right.
And that's the thing.
Right.
And so I think people.
And your character should never change. Who you are as a person should never change. That should be your fingerprint for life. People need to know.
It's a foundational issue.
Absolutely.
And I think that's where. So I think we're in this point now because you said something earlier when you talked about, which is why I've been using consistently the hashtag Black Economic Social Justice. Yeah. Is that, and what I've said is
social justice through an economic lens.
I said,
folks, third Reconstruction.
I said they ain't got a problem. I said they really don't have a problem with us protesting against mass incarceration, protesting for criminal justice reform, protesting to end voter suppression. I said, but it was Coretta Scott King said, they killed my Martin
over money
when he started talking about the money.
Right.
And that, when you start talking about the money, that's a whole different conversation. And I dare say, every other societal ill that we can lay out that affects black people, I said, if we don't deal with the money,
you'll never solve
you cannot confront any of those. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
The greatest compliment, one of the greatest compliments that I think I've ever received was by accident. Bernice A. King, Dr. King's, Prescott King's daughter, wrote in an email introducing me to someone else. John Hope Bryant and Operation Hope are creating an economic infrastructure for Black America. It touched my heart. I'm like, after all those years of being dissed and dismissed and discounted, here is the heir apparent to the legacy of the one that we all admire, who took the time in the mental space, the mind space, to understand what this guy was doing, who some might say is competing with the legacy of her father. Some insecure people might say, he's trying to ride on the coattails of your father. She said, no, he's extending the legacy
it's
of
the
my
continuation.
father. He's continuing the work of my father. He's protecting the legacy of my father. He's trying to pay off what my dad set up.
In fact, I would say, I did not realize this until I was doing my research. First of all, his book, Chaos or Community, Where Do We Go From Here?
Where do we go from here? Yeah.
Which is, I did not realize that book was not published for 10 years after his death.
Really? Chaos or Community?
It was not published.
Wow.
So I sat there and I went, damn.
Yeah.
I said, imagine if that book was.
Yeah. I have to reread it this
So
week.
here you had 10 years of folk
Wilderness period.
not being able, and it was written in '68.
Yeah.
Last book, worst selling book. But the thing that I was as it hit me, and I thought about the Gary Convention, the Black Political Convention in Gary, Indiana, in 1972, where the decision was made: our future's in politics.
Wow.
And I've talked to many who were there who said that was a mistake that we made.
Ambassador Young said last night at dinner, he said, we might have taken political power or politics as far as we can take it.
Yes.
And we now need to shift to economics.
So imagine had they picked that mantle of king up after '68.
Yes.
Because remember, Nixon wins,
Yes.
Arthur Fletcher comes in,
Yes.
put affirmative action in
Nixon
place.
created affirmative action, which is
and but the roots of it actually was when LBJ gave a speech at Howard University, where he used the phrase "take affirmative action."
Okay. LBJ did.
LBJ did.
Yeah.
And then Nixon wins, Arthur Fletcher puts it in, but then it was this whole piece. And so then you had black politics, but what most people remember about the black politics of Hatcher, Coleman Young, Marion Barry, Maynard Jackson was the economic piece. And I keep saying, y'all, that was the brilliance of them, but when you got to the 80s and then 90s, you had black politicians that wasn't the primary focus. Right. And so where we are now.
Well, let's go back to the March on Washington, though. March on Washington was a march for jobs and freedom. Jobs and freedom. And the March on Washington.
Initially, it was a march on Washington for jobs for civil rights.
Yeah, well, let's go back even further, though. Is A. Philip Randolph. The credit is given to the civil rights leaders of the 60s for that, but really A. Philip Randolph threatened that march.
Yes.
From 1945 forward. And because he threatened it and did it in a way that was elegant, he got the president of the United States then to integrate the military, which is where the black middle class came from.
Right.
You couldn't have doctors and lawyers and bankers, business people, and in the professions in the mainstream because white people didn't want you working on them. But those professions came from the military, and when we graduated from the military, which was integrated thanks to A. Philip Randolph, we were able to go off into the mainstream of the 60s and create the Second Reconstruction, this getting group that I mentioned earlier, the middle class getting a job, getting access, people who cash checks, and now, Roland, we need to have folks in the Third Reconstruction who write checks.
And so I want to pick up on that. The last part of our conversation, the Third Reconstruction. Reverend Dr. William Barber, Poor People's Campaign.
Brilliant guy.
His book, Third Reconstruction.
I'm talking about something different, but a
right.
brilliant guy.
But actually, you're talking about the same thing.
Okay.
Because in my conversation with both of you, here he's picking up so you picked up. So let me say it this way. Let me properly set the table. Reverend Leon Sullivan introduces the Operation Breadbasket to Dr. King.
Right.
King says, Reverend, come down to Atlanta, present to the SCLC. He does. He said, we're going to adopt this. We're going to name it Operation Breadbasket.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yes, came
Dr.
from
King
Leon
invited.
Sullivan.
I know it came from Leon Sullivan. I know Dr.
He
King
invited them
him.
to present to the SCLC. They adopted it. They named it Operation Breadbasket because the first companies they went after were bread companies.
Wow.
So Martin Depp's book on Operation Breadbasket, so that 66 to 71, what they created and how they impacted.
And Leon Sullivan was the first black man on a corporate board of directors also. And then
so he was doing this in Philly.
Right.
Brought it
He
to
owns
King.
real estate to this day in Philly.
Brought it to King.
A shopping mall.
They created Operation Breadbasket in Chicago. King wanted to create breadbasket chapters that were separate from SCLC.
Okay.
All across the country, he gets killed.
Right.
So they achieved that. So here you had the breadbasket piece. So when Bernice King says that you're picking that piece up, which is you're dealing, that was directly going after companies where they were saying we want blacks in senior positions, blacks being hired. Part of the conditions were black companies being hired to do what now called minority supply development, and part of the deal was you had to deposit money in black banks.
Right.
So that was the whole breadbasket piece.
Which is what's going on in the forum, by the way.
Okay, so you had that piece.
Right.
So that's what breadbasket was.
Right.
King was planning the Poor People's Campaign.
Right.
Okay.
Which was it's whispered in his ear by Marion Wright Edelman.
What did King also do? King mandated that it had to be biracial. He said no.
That's right.
So when they had that first meeting,
That's
there were
right.
white folks from Kentucky, and other places.
More poor whites in America than poor anybody else,
Right.
then and today.
So Barber picks up the Poor People Campaign part.
Gotcha.
So you're not actually doing anything different. You're actually taking up both pieces of MLK. They were simply talking to two different audiences. One was
That's fair enough.
poor people and driven.
Right.
One was the corporate aspect.
Right.
So right
And
now,
he's more civil rights in the streets. I'm in silver rights in the suites.
there you go.
Yeah.
But and King was doing both.
Right.
And that's what, because in fact, what was interesting is his folks in SCLC were like, hold up, why we have these separate chapters? Because he understood that the suites
right.
people
That's right.
can't do the same
right.
thing as the streets.
That's right.
Because it's two different
conversations.
Two different conversations.
Right.
So right now, where we are, and I use it all the time on the show as well, while we have to be thinking third Reconstruction, it's because Reconstruction is reconstructing.
That's right.
That if you don't deal with the money, that was a failure of the first Reconstruction.
That's right.
That was a failure of the second Reconstruction. They were successful, 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, Fair Housing Act, Brown versus Board of Education, all of that. But if you don't confront the money.
That's it. Nothing would ever change. And you got to do it systemically at the groundwater and at the level of the lake. And so some of my work is at the level of the lake. That's my coaching systems. Some of my work is at the level of groundwater, which is these conversations, this systemic conversations, trying to get companies to change literally how they do business, which starts with how the CEO and the leadership teams think. So Roland and I, this is not a disagreement, but we do approach things differently. We're working the same street, but he may pound the street and I may want to empower the street, or he may protest the street, I may want to partner with the street. But you need the protest.
But it's classic inside-outside.
No, it's classic inside-outside.
Right.
And so he says there's no need for a press release, no use for a press release. No, I would say it starts with the press release. You got to, because once the press release happens, they're on record. And so he's right that ultimately you
No. I didn't say there's no need for the
hope.
press release.
Yep.
What I said is, I'm not going to issue the praise for the press
That's
release.
right. You wanted the results.
My
Right.
deal is,
Yeah.
so I accept the press release.
Yep.
I acknowledge the press release.
Yep.
What I'm not going to do is go,
Yeah.
oh man,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
in reading Depp's book, this is what he said. He said, and it blew me away. I mean, John, when I say blew me away, he said, the greatest weakness of Breadbasket was we did not have the infrastructure to follow up and on accountability.
Right.
He said,
What I'm building
we
is
had
infrastructure.
great announcements.
Right.
We signed the MOUs.
Right.
He said it was wonderful.
Right.
He said, but we jumped to the next MOU, the next MOU. He said, what we didn't do
Right.
was keep coming back going, y'all said y'all were going to hire 250 people, but you've only hired 80.
There's another piece, Roland, though, that's missing.
Which is the accountability part.
Yes, there's another piece is missing. And if there's anything I want anybody to remember from this conversation with me, as far as my contribution here, it's this. Black America has got relationships in civil rights, in social justice, in faith, in academia, and in community. People call each other, they're on text chats, they're back and forth, they go to each other's events, go to each other's houses. It's, oh, hey, how you doing? Hey, Jay, what's going on? Yeah, what's it? We got no relationship capital to business, no relationship capital to capitalism, no relationship capital to how money works. The only thing we say is, give it to me. I want to, in other words, we use a blunt force object for something that is a nuance game. A billionaire, and I know because I have the conversations with them. I actually talking to one billionaire, brought him a business opportunity. He said, "John, stop it. Stop bringing." It wasn't for me. It was I thought I was doing him a favor. Stop bringing me business opportunities. Listen now, what he said. Well, I don't want to make any more money. So he said, I don't need to make any more money. That's not what my life's about right now. Basically, what he's saying is, do I like you? Do I respect you? Do I admire you? Do you make me feel good by being around you? Do I want to even be bothered? If I don't, then I have no interest. Go talk to some of my people in my foundation, but don't talk to me. So what I've learned is that things move because people have a relationship with you. Mm-hmm. It's relationship capital. I cannot stress enough. You cannot pound somebody over the head, beat them over the head with a club and expect them to like you, respect you, admire you, trust you, feel comfortable with you. They need to be pushed, prodded, encouraged to be their best self. But you're gonna have to cut them a break in their short term because that's what they don't know that they don't know. The best people in the world, meaning the best character, will screw up with the best of intentions. They don't know. They're issuing the press release and have no idea how they're gonna get there. You know what? I actually am the opposite. I give them credit. Look, you saw George Floyd get murdered. You wanted to do something. You told your staff to knock it out, just like you're telling them to, I don't know, buy some piping for your oil company. You just issued a directive and you told them solve this. I get it. That's not going to happen. But I get that you thought enough of this that you wanted them to move. They made a commitment and they have no clue how they're going to achieve it. My job is to help them connect those dots.
Right.
To help them achieve the thing they're now on record saying that they want to do. When I would end with this story. I was talking to his brother in Harlem, and this was 20 years ago. He said, President Reagan's a racist. Reagan's still alive, God rest his soul. I said, no, Reagan's not a racist. Yeah, he's a racist. I said, look, Reagan's not my politics. People think I'm a Republican, by the way, I'm not. It's not my ideal politician has a Republican head and a Democratic heart, right? I'm not, I'm an independent, just for the record. But, Reagan's a racist. No, he's not. He goes on and goes on. I said, look, stop it, man. Look, Reagan's politics are not my politics, but I know the man. Let me tell you something. He's not a racist. Reagan doesn't hate you. He's not thinking about you at all. Reagan don't know no black people. He's not related to any black people. His wife's not a sister. He didn't grow up around people of color. He's got no relationship to black people whatsoever. He don't hate you. He's not thinking about you. And the only time he does think about you is when he hears criticism about him, about us, which means that if the first piece of legislation that comes across his desk is from the CBC, Congressional Black Caucus, and they just called him everything but the devil, no one voted for him. He's got no relationship with them. They never said anything nice about him. And now he's got some legislation for that or legislation from his buddies over here. Human nature says, which legislation is he going to pass? He's going to sign the one from his friends. The issue aside, because he says, because he's a human being. These people don't like me. You have to have a relationship with people. You've got to have, that's why I say talk without being offensive, listen without being defensive, and always leave even your adversary with their dignity. Because if you don't, they'll spend the rest of their life trying to make you miserable. So there needs to be relationship capital built up in our community with people with whom you don't understand, with whom you may not agree.
And who they don't understand.
And who they don't understand.
Which is why.
Before we ask for something, by the way, before we say, gimme, you say, here am I. And by the way, here's a stunning one. What can I do for you?
See what I do. See, when we're going back and forth. What I lay out to companies is, oh, you want something from us. The market share that we're providing.
Yeah.
The buying of goods and services. Yes. I go, what's the return on investment?
That's what you should be doing. You're a technical tactical delivery of goods, products, and services that have a material value with data attached. You should be saying, what's my piece of that defined pie? I'm talking about thought leadership here.
Right.
I'm talking about the philosophy
right.
of the playing ground. You're on the playing field.
Right.
It's two different conversations. Both are important.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
When you have the back and forth, like I won't name the company, but
oh my God, that's progress.
No, because I've already publicly named the company.
Okay.
So I called out this company. I didn't call out the company. I simply publicly acknowledged the business that they were doing with a black targeted company.
Fair enough.
And then I asked the question.
Yeah.
Are you going to make a commitment to black-owned media? Well, then this company.
Fair question.
Then this company named a black CEO.
Yeah.
So I put the photo of the black CEO. Congratulations on you.
Right.
I said, it wasn't like they were sitting around going, let's call Roland Martin. I said, the post got the attention.
But do we care how they get there?
Right. No. Right.
We're just glad they got the promise.
Right. But they're because I've had friends who said, well, why couldn't you do this quietly? And I had to explain to the friend, we were doing it quietly.
Right, it wasn't working.
We were talking.
Right.
And then all of a sudden,
right.
Oh, we think he's too controversial.
Right.
So I had to your point, give a little nudge.
Yes.
And it wasn't, y'all ain't this, don't buy this here. Right. I was kind of like, but I'm quite sure when they went back and they calculated, okay, 620,000 on Instagram.
Right.
620,000
you got the data.
On Twitter,
yes.
1.3 million on Facebook, 805,000 on YouTube.
Right.
They probably went, I think we might want to have the conversation because he could post something that says, don't buy our product. Then you lose market share.
Or conversely, he could post something that says, buy our product.
Because
here's a good company.
There you go.
Yeah.
And that to me,
that's the long term.
And that to me, and again, when I talk about approaches, I think, again, we're talking about inside outside. What you do is, hey guys, you actually are looking at rolling the wrong way.
Right.
Can be of value to you.
Right.
And so because even a lot of times those companies approach it as how dare they ask us? Well, probably if you actually look at your numbers, you're not doing well.
Right.
Maybe you ought to check that. That to me is where I tell black people, this is like somebody hit me. Well, man, you gonna change your content because all of a sudden you getting ads? I said no. I said, folk know us who I am. I said, because here's the deal. If you respond to me because of my data, how did I get the data?
Right.
How did I get the numbers?
Right.
Because I'm being my authentic self.
Sure.
I said, if you want to reach black, you got to talk to black.
Right.
I said, you got to accept also who we are and what we do. That to me, I think, is this interesting dynamic that we're in. But I dare say, every one of us, we must be thinking third Reconstruction.
Absolutely.
For minimum.
2020 to 2030.
Minimum, I keep saying minimum in the next 20 years. Yeah. First was 10 to 12 years. The second was 14, 16 years. I say we have to be thinking that way for a minimum 20 years of constant, in that way for corporate America, foundations, federal government, state government, county government, city, thinking that way. Otherwise, we're going to be having these same conversations. And as someone who's 52, I keep saying the next 20 years from now, a brother who's 30 or who's 40 should not be fighting the exact same fight.
Amen. Amen.
So where do you want, so I'll ask you, 20 years from now, since we're talking about measurement, someone's going to see this 20 years from now. What should Operation Hope look like in 2041?
We should be out of business. We should be out of business. There should be no need for a Hope Global Forum where I'm asking people to do the thing that they should be doing anyway. There should be no need for me to provide financial coaching and counseling for people who are effectively left behind by no fault of their own. There should be no need for convincing society that it's good business to do business with people who are black and brown and different. This economy should be a $50 trillion economy versus $20 trillion now in the U.S. And it should include all of God's children, because the color is not black, white, red, brown, or yellow, it's green. The best way, the beautiful part about math is it doesn't have an opinion. We should be out of business. People should this should just become a norm. Unfortunately, the risk, there's a couple of things that should happen if we are successful. A couple of things that one thing should happen and one thing I hope doesn't happen but might. Number one is we should be taking the rights and opportunities of blacks and brown people to be part of the economy and GDP growth to the tune of 2, 3, 4% every year should be taken for granted. I don't mean that literally. I mean that it should be so embedded into successive generations that this is our reality, that just like our Jewish brothers and sisters, it's just taken as a norm. This is what's happened with the right to vote. Unfortunately, the Andrew Youngs of the world and others who gave their life, Dr. King literally, we're seeing the generation today that have to be reminded that every day you got to fight for your democracy. Right. And unfortunately, it took an interesting president to be elected to office, and problematic, I'm saying interesting in an interesting way, for us to realize that every vote counts. So now we are reminded that voting does matter, but we took it for granted. Right. I think that our work, if it succeeds, and I think it will succeed, will be taken for granted and we'll be out of business because it'll be viewed to be irrelevant. And I like that. The other thing that might happen is if we're successful, you might hear that I got assassinated, but it won't be because that's a morbid thing to say, and I don't mean it literally, or I'm just saying, I'm giving you a narrative here, that it won't be because racist white people took me out. It won't be because some corporations took me out or the government took me out. It'll be something pretty basic. And this is actually a compliment. I'll be walking through an alley, and a drug dealer, race is irrelevant, will say, you know, man, I really love your work. I've been telling my kids to go read your books and go to your classes, and all my family is all about hope and empowerment. But you messing up my business. Everybody got hope and shit. People going to school, going to college, starting businesses. I don't have any workers anymore. People are not depressed anymore. They're not buying my product anymore because the reason you do dope and you buy and you want to smoke and you want to drink is you want to not deal with the healing of your life. You want to just cope and deal with the surviving part of your life. You want to be checked out. And so nobody wants to be checked out anymore. I got a business problem, and you're it. You got to go. By the way, why did we kill Dr. King? Too much truth. Why did we kill Nelson Mandela was actually on the hit list by the ANC. It's a whole other, it wasn't the white Afrikaners, it was the ANC because they thought he was negotiating with the devil, which was ANC. Clearly he was brilliant in what he was doing, but they didn't understand it. But why did Malcolm X get killed? Too much truth. Clearly Gandhi, too much truth. Clearly the top of the mark example, for which none of us are even worthy of having our names mentioned in the context of, but it is still an indicative story. Why was Jesus Christ crucified? Too much truth. When truth meets the problem head on, and you cannot solve the velocity issue, you cannot slow it down long enough so that people can accept it and sort of integrate in it, then it becomes a point of conflict. And how do you resolve it? How does society resolve the conflict will determine what the outcome is. I'm hopeful that I can co-opt the drug dealers to become entrepreneurs. I'm hopeful that I can co-opt the gangsters, because all a gang is a frustrated union organizer. All a drug dealer is an illegal and ethical entrepreneur. He understands import, export, finance, marketing, wholesale, retail, customer service, security, territory, logistics. He's brilliant. He's just a bad business plan. But we've been so, Roland, we've been so poisoned, right? I mean, it was a black woman that stabbed Dr. King, almost killed him.
Yeah, in New York City.
At a book signing, right? We save our worst
He
behavior.
had mental illness. Yeah.
We save our worst behavior for those we care the most about. We save our worst behavior for those we care the most about. You know, what is the problem on the south side of Chicago? It's not just bad police officers. It's black on black crime. How is it that we are killing each other, you know, in broad daylight? This is self-hate. It's anger. It's mental illness. It's a lack of healing.
And it's also the work you're doing, because you go in those neighborhoods, that credit score, lack of jobs, lack of education. It is not pockets. It is large swaths of despair.
It is large swaths of despair. You have more check cashers and payday loan lenders in Mississippi and Alabama than McDonald's or Starbucks in the entire nation combined. So somebody tried to not take me out literally, but somebody tried to take me out reputationally 4 years ago, but they thought I was getting too much momentum. I still don't know who hired him, but I know the guy's name. He basically was a false ID from somebody in Arizona. They said he was an accountant, but he knew everything about my board, and he was emailing lies to my board. But he was trying to get me off the stage, trying to shut me up, because I clearly, whatever his client was, the check cashing industry or the payday loan industry or whoever it was,
saw you as a threat.
Saw me as a threat. So look, I'm not naive. I'm not Pollyanna about this, but I do believe that we're better together. I do believe that this work really is a unique work where if you do it right, everybody wins. I do believe that if we do this, we can solve the core problem in the black community. The one piece we've never tried is to use free enterprise and capitalism at scale. We've never tried to use that to solve problems or to achieve, as you said earlier, social justice. Ever. It's not like we tried it and it failed.
Right.
We've never tried it. And how is it that the three groups that have been left behind, Roland, Native American Indians, African Americans, and poor whites, are the only three groups that have left behind, and the only three groups that have never used the levers of free enterprise and capitalism, economics, and ownership and opportunity to set themselves free? Isn't that ironic? Or maybe it's intentional. So if we can turn that around and create a business plan for all of us, and we all rise, maybe we actually will meet the promised land together.
That's it. Appreciate it, my brother.
Love you, man.
Love you.